UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has reiterated his call for a ceasefire during a meeting with the Egyptian foreign minister. He said Palestinians need a flood of aid.
Looking at Gaza, it almost appears that the four horsemen of war, famine, conquest and death are galloping across it. And that is why the time for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire is now. And in the Ramadan spirit of compassion, I also urge the immediate and unconditional release of hostages. The suffering must end. Palestinians in Gaza desperately need what has been promised, a flood of aid.
Tareq Azzoum is in Rafah in southern Gaza. Antonio Guterres, they're using some very dramatic language to explain, as he sees it, what's happening in Gaza. He's calling for a flood of aid. What is the situation at the moment?
Well, in fact, Nick, the situation on the ground here inside the Gaza Strip in both north and the southern part of the territory is still extremely dire, as the amounts of aids that are allowed to get into the territory is still the same, without clear increase in the capacity of the humanitarian convoys, as Israel till now is still following the same approach represented in restricting the humanitarian supplies deliveries, specifically to the most vulnerable parts of the conflict there in the north, where there are still hundreds of thousands of people are waiting for further flow of humanitarian assistance just to help them to recover with the ongoing aftermath of the Israeli offensive. But yet we do not see any enforcement of laws in terms of Israel in order to help to remove all the restrictions being imposed, and in light of the very severe shortage of all food items and the skyrocketing prices in the Palestinian market. And absolutely, Palestinians are calling for an increased capacity of aid supplies. But we have been seeing dozens of humanitarian trucks are stationed on the Egyptian side, which can help to relatively mitigate the aggravating humanitarian crisis.
Tareq, we were mentioning before that Israeli forces have been bombing homes in Rafah. We also talked about them carrying out strikes on homes in Deir el-Balah. Just bring us up to date over the last several hours or so. What's been happening?
Yes, in fact, the latest round of Israeli bombardment and attacks in Rafah had risen the death toll to more than 15 Palestinians. That had been reached to 16 after the civil defense teams managed to recover a baby being killed by the Israeli attack from one of the residential houses that had been targeted, and it's since down today. But yet the situation sounds really critical in other parts of the territory, where the bombardment and airstrikes continue to go on in the Shifa, on the vicinity of the Shifa hospital, where a number of Palestinians have been reported killed and injured in a Shati refugee camp, while the Gaza's government media office has been stating that the Israeli military troops, amid its ongoing operations in a Shifa hospital, had killed 5 medical teams inside, five medical doctors and teams inside the Shifa hospital, as they are still trapping hundreds of patients and evacuees inside this medical facility. But yet we have been seeing more attacks on the middle areas, where the artillery bombardment continues on Deir el-Balah and on the Nasser refugee camp till now.
Tareq, thank you very much indeed. Tareq Azzoum talking to us from Rafah in southern Gaza. Well, in Khan